Is that a fair share drummers? And yes, it is. That's really disappointing. He's going straight to the diff as well.
Yeah, he's looking under there. That's not what we wanted to see. Starting from the second row of the grid, the front row of the grid, we'll see yesterday's race winner, Robert Braun, on pole position. Paul Cruz right alongside. Great to see the Cruz boys back on the front row of the grid. Luke Gretsch-Gumbo, at this point in time, is going to not make the start of this. The officials have delayed the start, so they're going to drag the GC Electrical Pro Cut car out of its position there. It's hardly vulnerable where it is, but certainly better to have it hidden away behind the barriers. Let's just keep running it through the grid. Craig Piergros in the number 640. So there's some diversity for you, isn't it? Robert Braun, BMW 3 Series. Paul Cruz in the little Nissan. Luke Gretsch-Gumbo in the big Commodore. And Craig Piergros in that bright, or that dark blue, brightly sponsored Falcon there as well on the second row of the grid. Jamie Augustine in the 155 will be next on the grid. Mark DeFanis, who, played the bridesmaid yesterday, didn't he? He was thereabouts the whole race long. I'm going to watch for the number 21, the Silver Monaro. You can just see the nose of it in shot there, up to the sort of the back of the cars on the grid there on the long shot. Keep an eye out for Jared McLeod, very, very experienced race driver. A bit of a guest drive here this weekend. David Bone in the number 7 Datsun 1600. There is the official start delayed. Robert Baird in the 777 in a more traditional type of improved production car. Was always for a long time rotary territory, and the first rotary 777 in position number 9. Adrian Taranto in that magnificent looking little Audi number 38 out of 12. Wayne Allway right beside him. Stephen Zorkas, the first of our under 2 litre cars, out of position number 13. Stephen qualified immensely, and we actually saw him coming out of position 6 yesterday. The horsepower cars did get the best of him yesterday, and the best of Stephen Zorkas still to come here this weekend in the number 17 car there as well. Back to Brad White, then it's Dallas Brooks, Prague Watts. So a couple of under 2 litre cars, Steve, in that mid-pack with Zorkas and Paul there as well, both Civics.
Absolutely. There's your current point standings at the top as it sits right now. Just flashed off the screen there with Luke Gretsch-Gumbo. Sadly, being dragged off the circuit, is the current clubhouse leader in the Vic State Series. So let's get this underway after a very short delay. Robert Braun got the jump yesterday afternoon from the other side of the grid. Now he's got to do it from the dirty side of the grid up against Paul Cruz in the Nissan Silvia S13. And Rob Braun's had a very, very good launch from the dirty side of the grid. Got a clean set of heels this time. Doesn't have to go very, very deep and brave under brakes around the long way around Paul Cruz's right-hand side this time as they all file through the opening chicane for the first time.
Everyone doing it nicely through the first couple of corners.
Oh,
as we've got one
McPherson
off on the start line. Oh, Graham McPherson. What a forgettable weekend he has had at Winton Motor Raceway. Came out of 31 on the grid, didn't get home yesterday, so not sure what's happened with Graham. The field streamed their way through. There's been contact,
Darren. There's another car off down there too. It looks like it might be Brad Ross in the Falcon.
Certainly does look like that. The big Falcon with the red sides and the white stripe across the middle of the car. So field continues on. We may see safety car at some time. Robert Braun and David Bone fill the screen now, the 7 and the 777. And that's the Audi of Taranto. Then we go to Tefanis in the Commodore there as well. So there's Zorkas in the red Civic there, and the big Commodores in that field there. Look at the Civics. They just get left behind a little bit in a straight line, but watch how these front-wheel drive Japanese cars get through the twisty section. Here is the front of the field, and there's Jared McLeod in the number 21. He's already made his way through to, what is it, P3, P4 at the moment.
Looks like it's about 2 spots gained there. He's ahead of Mark DeFanis, and he's ahead of Craig Piergros in the XE Falcon, so that'll be a 2-position gain for Jared McLeod aboard Peter Dixon's number 21 Monaro. He's the only one in the field this weekend with the absence of Adam Poole. Actually was told it was a birthday party for his children. That's why he's missing this weekend, which is, I guess, a good reason, family reasons to stay at home in South Australia.
Bit of a long haul too. If you've got commitments at home with the kids, best to do that. And they are trying to recover those first 2 cars that were the start line incident on local yellows. We've now got a BMW retiring to the infield as well. It's an interesting way to bring it in as pitches back down through turn 4. There's Taranto. Great looking little Audi. And the only Audi in the field. I sort of feel as though we're going to start seeing some more of these cars start to get their way into improved production. There's big Craig Piergros, new sponsor, B&M Boring alongside. Great welcome to improved production to them.
They're getting their money's worth, aren't they? The car's been on the screen quite a fair bit. It's a beautifully presented bit of kit from Dean Lilly and the crew at Ravage Raceworks, and Craig's really stepped up his driving this year, as evidenced by the last round at Sandown. In the first year that he had the car in 2021, really just took it quietly and sort of found his way and found his feet, really didn't push it too hard. And then Dean Lilly jumped into the car at practice at Sandown and absolutely flogged the rear tyres on it and sort of really showed Craig how quickly he could go. And Craig's like, well, I'm the car owner. I can't go faster than the guy, or I can't be slower than the guy that's built the car for me, so I better put my foot down.
Well, that gives him the confidence that the car under him is going to do it. The other thing is that he's got to be very careful of is that he's lighting up those rear tyres, and
yes,
you've got to be able to bring these tyres to the end of the race. And the more horsepower you get, and we see it with the likes of Damien Milano and Troy Lloyd in the Shep City Bearings car, and Gretsch Gumbo as well, start to look after those tyres. It's all good to burn them up off the first part of the track. Then you'll get these guys, Zorkus, the RX-7s, and some of the lesser powered V8 Commodores, the Civics, come after you as we get along. And particularly at Phillip Island, which will be our next round, that's where you see it. Some of the bigger, heavier cars, those long loaded corners, start to tear up the tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a great little battle between the VX Commodores. You've got Brad White in the Douglas Parade Motors 48, who's just managed to overtake Dallas Brooks in the Sign Pro entry. A couple of real noticeable differences you can see on those two cars, which sort of lends to what you can do in improved production. You can see that Brad White's got the Monaro front bar on the car and the bigger rear wing. Dallas Brooks has got the more standard sort of optional rear wing that came as a factory extra back in the day, and the standard front bar. So a little bit of development differences, but at a track like this, it's actually proving to be null and void to, I guess, a degree. The pass was made quite easily, but by the same token, they quite well matched those two cars in certain parts of the circuit. Now Dallas Brooks has got a mirror full of Paul Javots in the EG Civic.
The RX-7 giving a bit of that Testament-rich fuel overrun out the exhaust there, the black smoke out there, nothing to worry about. Boy, have a look at that Civic. Paul drives away the number 45. He wouldn't have thought he'd drive away from a V8 Commodore and 178 there as easily as what we've just seen then with Dallas Brooks. But wow, that was some good drive out of turn 10.
Shane Williams tucked in behind here as well. And here's Jared Tonks. Now, Jared Tonks had a little bit of an issue yesterday early on, and I think it was mechanical gremlins, and he's fought his way from the back of the field through, and he's all the way up to what is now P8. He's just wrestled P8 away from Adrian Taranto in the Audi. The next
Jared Tonks started out of 30th. Yeah, good spot there, Steve. Absolutely. He started out of P3 yesterday, so qualified really well with the 131.2 and did have that issue yesterday. So a massive fight back. That's a big drive through this field, which is a tough gig at Winton.
Absolutely a tough gig, and he's got Danny Timewell's the next man up the road from him. Now, a little bit further behind them, a couple of cars behind them actually. Robert Baird, who we had that fantastic onboard footage from yesterday, courtesy of the Blendline TV crew downstairs. It's almost harking back to the days of race cam. Last night I was thinking all we need is the microphone to be mic'd up to cut to him live and then turn around and say, "Nah, too busy, boys. We've got to go back to driving."
Geez, I tell you what, you could half close your eyes and have a bit of a squint on here, and this could be Phil Morris, Ken Douglas or Andy Brown or any of those guys, Kane Fletcher or Joel Fletcher back in the 90s here with the Datsun and the RX-7. Of course, Rob Baird raced right through the early part of the 90s, and great return to the sport in an RX-7. But this is traditional fare, I guess you'd say, for improved production. Datsun 1600s and RX-7s and RX-3s, and either side were enveloping with the more technology, the all-wheel of the Audi, and then the great little VTEC power plant on board the Zorkus car there as well. So a good nod to some tradition, and certainly the way forward as well on screen at the moment.
Absolutely. Young Tom Baird, who's the son of Rob, in that car as well. He had an RX-7 he was potentially building for IP. They tried to run it up here at the Freedom 4 Hour, and it unfortunately fell over after a couple of laps. He's actually sold that car, got himself an FD RX-7 he's building up for a sports sedan. So the Baird name going to continue in motorsport in the Vic State Series, hopefully in the not too distant future.
Robert Baird was going for a position there as well, and there's positions at the front coming under fire also. Couple of cars running Pro Kart stickers on board there. We haven't actually got the Pro Kart car here today, but certainly the company being represented by some of the bigger V8s here as well. And this is for position here. Tonks has come out of 30th, and have a look at this. He's up to 7th, threatening for 6 and 5 on the road here.
Jared McLeod's managed to clear this little group as well. He's up to 4th place now. Mark Defanis has now done what he couldn't do yesterday, and that was get past Jamie, or was a battle between Augustine and Pierre Gross. And Augustine's now up the road in 3rd. So this is the battle that pack that was really rampaging on toward the end of the race yesterday afternoon. It's sort of split apart. It's actually found a new little battle here. Pierre Gross just looks a little bit vulnerable out of some of these slower 90-degree corners at the moment. Might not be too much longer before Tonks sends a pass up the inside at one of these chicanes.
I tell you what, it's not vulnerable, and I'm not sure what the number represents on the side, but that's horsepower, and the car is
Probably
number
is.
640. I reckon on a bad tune day, that car's got 640 horsepower.
Half-hearted look here at turn 3, just showing the nose, just realising, hey, I'm here, and on the second side of the equation. We're teammates, by the way. We're both at a ravage. We don't want to come together like the teammates did at Sandown a couple of weeks ago.
Look at this. Tonks looks to the inside in the rod and gun car. The B&M Boring. Number 640 of Pierre Gross. This has grabbed our attention. Look up the inside here for Tonks. He's got to make a move, and he does. Pierre Gross opens the corner up nicely. He'll flow the Falcon here, though. He'll certainly keep into it, keep the momentum going, but what he has done is he's just unlocked that for this magnificent drive by Jared Tonks. This is the drive of the weekend for round 2 of the Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships. Had to come back after some adversity yesterday and have a look at this drive now. It's a measured drive, very measured in fact, that he's being able to keep the car all in one piece, stay out of trouble, which is often very difficult when you're charging through 30 cars in the field to try and get to the front. Jared McLeod's assault on the lead of this race has slowed marginally at this point in time. 6 laps done, so still only 3 laps to go, but Robert Braun is showing a clean set of heels to Paul Cruz, 2.6 seconds a rear, and then a further 10 seconds back is Jamie Augustine. But what a real change at the front of this field, and what a different track will throw up, and the advantages of some of the more smaller, nimble cars, and the cars that get all of their horsepower to the ground. That's what it's about here at Winton. It's about power down and drive off the corner.
In terms of the 3 circuits that we visit in the Vic State Series as well, I always like to call this one the joker in the pack, because we visit it only once throughout the course of the year, and it's a track, as you rightly pointed out just then. It's about getting power down out of the slow speed corners. It's about having a car that handles well, that sort of balances itself quite nicely through the course. Oh, and Mark Defanis looks like he's been caught on the outside at the very, very fast sweeper, the technical sweeper at turn 5, and just put a foot off the road, and that has cost him dearly.
It was only just before that in the rundown between 3 to 4 that we saw Jared Tonks go through, so he'd already arrested that spot off Mark Defanis as he now heads off like something out of the Fast and Furious, with dust trailing him away down there. But at the moment, I'm wondering if Jared Tonks, with 2 laps still to go, has got Jared McLeod now in his sights. This is an absolute storming drive, and as I said, it's calculated, it's measured, it's not being aggressive. He is just driving very, very well. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets out of the car at the end of this and he's pretty much forgotten how the race transpired. There he is.
He's all over him.
Absolutely. Already.
Yep, and there's 2 laps to run here, so this is not over by any stretch of the imagination. This will be for 4th place in this race. So a spot on the second row of the grid's at stake here. Going to go the long way, going to go under brakes, and McLeod just hangs in there but allows enough racing room. That's really good racecraft from the pair of them. Very, very smart, very, very sensible. Made the pass, well, I wouldn't say overly difficult, but didn't make it easy for him either, and Tonks is equal to the task. Good job. Very, very, very good job. Here's a replay of the Defanis going off at, actually just lost the rear. A little bit too wide out of the groove, and just lost the rear.
Yeah, that, as I said, Jared Tonks had already got him on the run down to turn 3, so it was all by himself. Here we go. Now this is back, and this is the battle for 4th on the road. And we've seen Jared Tonks go through. There's Jared McLeod in the number 21, and Craig Pierre Gross. Danny Timewell doing a nice drive here too into 7th. They're still getting used to this car. He started out of 10th place, so Danny and the Commodore doing a nice job. Here's number 13, Paul Cruz. Awesome to see this bright orange car back on track, doing a fantastic job of it as well as he runs down. Just up the road, you can just see the back of the BMW of Robert Braun, talking about doing a good job. That's where the Cruise boys want to be. Happens to be Paul racing here this weekend, and they want to take it up to the BMW. Great to see Bruce Henley back in the category as well here this weekend in his RX-8. A guy that's been around for well over 30 years in this category and does a fantastic job. So we're on our final lap now. It's Robert Braun leading from Paul Cruise, and it's a very slight 1.5 second lead. And I reckon Paul Cruise has actually got the bit between the teeth, because he is looking very, very aggressive at this point in time. There's Robert Braun in the 86. Beautiful looking BMW E30. There's nothing on that car that doesn't need to be there. Everything has an effect. Everything has a purpose. Here's the 13. This gap is slowly closing. Like I said, it's 1.8 seconds at the start of this lap.
Yeah, they've got some lap traffic to deal with in the same fashion they had in race 1 yesterday. A little bit of lap traffic within the last 2 laps of the race. Looking forward to see Robert Braun. He's going to be up at Bathurst in 3 weeks. They've actually got a BMW 135 that they've had bought from David Levy Motorsport. He's actually sharing that car with Tony Maloney. And I'll be looking forward to seeing what they do in a couple of weeks.
Goes off again.
And Defanis has been off again in the last couple of, in this last lap as well. But Braun, been a clean set of heels, great start from the front row of the grid, and has held sway, and he's going to come home with a similar margin to what he had yesterday. So 2 from 2 for Robert Braun.
In that last lap, it was 0.7 of a second that Paul Cruise took back off him as well. So the Nissan coming on strong. Here's the under 2 litre race. This is Zorkus, and they're punctuated by Robert Baird in the RX-7. So it's Zorkus back to Watts there as well. So they're currently sitting 10, 11, 12 on the road at the moment. And that's a great result. Paul Cruise just ranging up behind Robert Braun, just to give him a bit of an acknowledgement. Congratulations. The forlorn look on Luke Gretsch-Gumbo's face. He'll come from the rear of the grid. Hopefully he can fix the concern he has with the number 25 Gretsch-Gumbo electrical HSV Senator. And the field streaming across the line.
Absolutely. So very good win to Braun from Cruise. Jamie Augustine at the end of the day, 18.5 seconds behind in 3rd place. Jared Tonks, drive, as you pointed out, Darren, of the weekend so far. Rear of grid all the way through to 4th in a 30-plus deep car field. Craig Pierre-Gross benefited late there. Mark Defanis had got past him a bit earlier on in the piece. So too had Jared McLeod. He'd gotten past him as well. So in the last couple of laps, both Mark Defanis and Jared McLeod have had some sort of drama that's seen them fall out of the top 5.
Back to Danny Timewell home in 7th place. Stephen Zorkus eventually home in 8th. They're a great drive in car number 17. First of the under 2 litre cars. Robert Baird, then Adrian Taranto, David Bone, Wayne Allway. Then the 45 of Gizwatts gets across the line. White Defanis eventually home in 15th place. So that's not a great result for the car that started out of 6th there. So something went wrong with the number 33 for him to just disappear back through down the field. Then it's Williams, Wayne Twist, Dallas Brooks, Richard Opie in the RX-8 from Bendigo Mazda. Back to Lloyd West, Blair Cool, Bruce Henley in 23, Rogers, Harris and Wayne Decker rounding out the 26. A massive field of 36 improved production cars started the race. Can't quite get to all of them on the timing screen in the time available. The field streaming back into the paddock now, and of course always a great run with improved production.